In the landscape of human experience, there is a fundamental spectrum. It stretches between profound social integration and absolute solitude. But what truly defines the psychological state of being alone? It is a concept far more complex than mere physical isolation. It is an internal experience, a subjective state that carries vastly different meanings for different individuals. Today, we will analyze the intricate psychology of solitude. Consider the experience of waking in the early morning. The house is silent. The obligations of the day have not yet begun. In this moment, you recognize your complete, temporary solitude. From a psychological perspective, the reaction to this stimulus is deeply revealing. For some individuals, this absence of external stimuli is experienced as profound peace. It is a restorative state, a return to baseline where cognitive resources are replenished. For others, this same quiet serves as a potent negative amplifier. It highlights an absence, a perceived deficit in connection, triggering feelings of loneliness or abandonment. We must therefore draw an immediate distinction. There is elected solitude, sought by those who find it restorative, and there is imposed solitude, endured by those who did not choose it but had it thrust upon them by circumstance. These individuals are often present in social environments, yet behaviorally distinct. You have likely observed them. They are the individuals who remain at the periphery of a large social gathering, observing rather than engaging. They are the colleagues who consistently decline invitations for after-work events, offering a polite but firm refusal. They are the friends who, when asked, maintain they are fine or doing well. Yet this presentation is often a sophisticated defense mechanism. It masks a deeper, often unspoken desire for genuine inquiry, a craving for someone to penetrate the facade and recognize their internal state is not fine at all. For individuals who actively seek solitude, the experience is not one of emptiness. To characterize it as a void is a fundamental misinterpretation. Instead, they describe it as cognitive and emotional breathing room. In the absence of social demands and external noise, their internal monologue becomes audible. This is not mere daydreaming, it is a critical process of cognitive consolidation. Reflection transitions from a passive state to an active process of analysis, culminating in clarity. Psychologically, this is where they recharge their executive functions. It is in this state of aloneness that they do not just survive, they actively thrive. However, this positive framing is not universal. For many, solitude is not a choice, but a fortress. It is a behavioral adaptation learned from negative past experiences. These experiences, perhaps acute betrayals by trusted friends or chronic patterns of being let down by caregivers, teach a powerful, albeit painful, lesson. They learn often, early in life, that expressing emotional need is functionally dangerous. Vulnerability, in their cognitive model, leads directly to pain, and so the social mask is adopted. This persona is agreeable, competent, and outwardly stable. It smiles, it nods, it maintains the illusion that everything is under control. This performance, however, requires immense psychic energy. And beneath it, there is often a persistent, quiet ache of disconnection. This state of sustained solitude, whether chosen or imposed, facilitates a unique form of self-understanding. It forces an individual to become an expert observer of their own internal landscape. They begin to identify complex patterns in their own cognitive processes, their emotional triggers, and their behavioral reactions. This introspective data collection leads to practical skills. They develop an acute ability to read a room, sensing interpersonal dynamics and unspoken tensions. Crucially, they learn to self-regulate their own emotional state before it escalates, often before others are even aware a conflict is brewing. Psychologists would categorize this as high emotional intelligence, or EQ, but it is an EQ developed not from supportive guidance, but from raw necessity. This results in a profound independence, one born paradoxically from both conscious choice and a fundamental drive for survival. There is a subset of this group that truly thrives on this independence. They derive genuine joy from quiet moments. They channel their energy into deep reflection, which in turn fuels creativity and uninterrupted, focused thought. This is the profile of many artists, writers, and profound thinkers throughout history. They have intentionally used solitude as a crucible for innovation. In their social lives, they exhibit a distinct preference pattern. They will almost universally value deep, substantive conversations over superficial small talk. They prioritize meaningful, authentic connection and are wholly uninterested in the quantity of their social ties. But then we must examine the others, those individuals who are alone, not because they selected it, but because life circumstances engineered it. This may manifest as having very few friends or a series of relationships that feel emotionally shallow and transactional. They might be surrounded by family that fundamentally misunderstands their nature. In response, they project a confident, capable facade. They meticulously hide their vulnerability and actively maintain their distance from the crowd. This is not the restorative solitude of the artist. This is protective solitude. It is a deeply ingrained survival strategy. They have learned through repeated reinforcement that relying on others is a high-risk gamble that often ends in pain. Therefore, they rely only on themselves. And yet, this self-reliance is often a compromise, not a victory. Deep down, there is frequently a powerful, unmet longing for someone to look past the armor and simply ask, "Are you okay?" This long-term solitude, particularly the protective variant, shapes the personality in ways external observers may not see. The positive adaptations are clear: independence, profound resilience, and advanced self-awareness. But it can also leave significant psychological scars. We observe a pervasive difficulty in trusting new people, a distinct fear of emotional closeness, even when it is desired. We see patterns of overfunctioning in relationships, taking on all the burdens to maintain control. And we see the chronic masking of pain behind layers of competence, or sometimes humor. In clinical psychology, we have terms for these patterns. Some of these adaptations map onto avoidant behavior or attachment styles. Others are clear hypervigilance responses. These are all logical responses developed to navigate a world that, at some point, felt fundamentally unsafe, chaotic, or overstimulating. This experience of being alone can also be a profound teacher of self-love and self-compassion. It can cultivate a mind that thinks deeply and critically. It develops a heart that, despite its guards, feels fully. It creates a soul that notices the subtle nuances in the environment and in human behavior that others miss. Yet, it is crucial to state this is not a state of constant bliss. There are days when restorative solitude feels like isolating deprivation. There are days when creative focus feels indistinguishable from profound loneliness. On those days, they may long for the simple, uncomplicated presence of another human being, a friend, a voice, a hand to hold, a simple, caring question. It is this unresolved tension between the absolute freedom of being alone and the deep ache of being unseen that often comes to define them. Therefore, to truly embrace solitude is to live within a paradox. It is the simultaneous expression of independence and vulnerability. It is the fusion of creativity and caution. It is a place of psychological safety, which is simultaneously a place of deep longing. It is essential to understand that these people are not broken. They are survivors. They are thinkers. They are feelers. They are quiet warriors navigating a social world that often misunderstands their need for distance. They demonstrate a vital truth, that happiness does not always or exclusively come from being surrounded by others. That strength is found not only in endurance, but in the capacity for self-standing. And that connection, the most vital human need, is not just an external event. It must also be deeply internal. Perhaps this analysis resonates with your own experience. Maybe you have consciously chosen a life of solitude, or maybe life circumstances simply placed you here. In either case, the state of being alone does not define your intrinsic value. However, understanding why you need it, distinguishing when it is healing and when it is protective armor, is critical. This understanding is what allows you to live more fully, to love more freely, with intention. and to finally be at peace with the person you are. Sometimes, this self-awareness allows you to notice that the world is still waiting. It is waiting for the real you, the one who is always there, quietly growing, quietly surviving, and quietly learning to thrive, even when alone. The original script posed a question, and I want to pose it to you as well. Do you find you truly enjoy your own company? Or do you sometimes experience a longing for connection, even when you outwardly profess that you do not? I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this complex topic. Please leave a comment below with your perspective. If this analysis resonated with you, and you wish to support our continued exploration of human behavior, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support allows us to continue creating this content.